Hello and welcome to the Back of the Nest Match Report. I'm your host Chris Hambling, and my panel and I are here to look back at the return to form for Palace as they beat Everton by 3-1 at Selhurst Park. Conor Gallagher scored twice either side of a James Tompkins back post tap-in, with his second a goal of great quality to settle the nerves after Rondon had pulled a goal back for the visitors. Right, with me this week I have Nick Gillard. Hello Nick.
You alright, how you doing?
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, you had something you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah, right. Look, Eskif kind of did a car journey to Leeds review on the preview show last week. He admitted the fact that DR locked me in the fucking car and they all walked into the service station to get their snacks, and it took them about 3 minutes to realise I wasn't there. So I was in this car that I couldn't get out of. Really needed a wee. And they've all walked off like Reservoir Dogs or whatever. In that, all in a line together. We're all mates. We're the car club, except for Nick. We're going to lock you in. I don't know if it's because of all the jokes or what, but I just had to add that.
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, we're going to need a bleep in there, aren't we? But I just, I think, I don't know what it says about you, Nick. I don't really know what that, for them to do that. Is it because of all the jokes? It's a long way up to Leeds, and when every other sentence is a pun of some sort.
No, it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. And the other thing I thought of was, as a kind of quiz thing, was to get you or Patrick to name one of the artists that DR put on the playlist, but I don't think you'd be able to, if I'm really honest. It'd be a waste of time.
So I have I've taken many a car journey with DR to games, and not once have I allowed him any kind of control over the music, and I think that's why he now drives. Because
he turns the music down when something that he hasn't put on the playlist is on, even if it's good.
Exactly. Anyway, so yeah. Also with us is Patrick O'Connor, and Patrick wants to jump in there.
Yeah, I can name an artist, Lowski.
I'm just going to look while you talk to Patrick, Chris. I'm just going to check our playlist.
I already said that. He's my nephew. I don't even say that he's my nephew. So that's the thing. I'm just trying to promote him. So how are you, Chris? So welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you stepping in at late notice. Yeah, it's nice to be back on my show. Life is complicated.
It is, especially around the holidays.
Yeah, exactly right. But no, so I'm really keen to get the show sorted this week. That's why we're recording it late, on a Tuesday afternoon of all things. So
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, well, for me anyway. But it's also very, very welcome to return to the show for a win. Obviously, the last few games have been a bit tough, but we get to talk about a win, and we'll get to talk about the reaction to those games, and that we've had to, I don't want to say endure, because that would be unfair, because we're a bit spoilt this season in terms of the quality of football. But it's certainly nice to come back after beating Everton, which is not something we do too often. But before we get cracking on the game review, let's talk about a few bits of Palace news this week. First up, in terms of the Palace women, Dean Davenport rightly winning the November Manager of the Month. He's guided Palace women into second place behind the leaders Liverpool. I think it's about 5 points behind the top of the table, and an unbeaten run of 6 games. And tremendous performance and great recognition for Dean Davenport there. And obviously, anytime you get an opportunity, either get down to support the women or watch any of the games that are covered online. They're doing an absolutely fantastic job this season. A very talented team. And talking of talented teams, don't know if you saw this one, either of you, Nick or Patrick, but FA Youth Cup. We talk about it every year because we can remember, a very good Palace side of yesteryear. Well, I say remember, I've read about, I'm not that old, you guys might be. A very good Palace side of yesteryear, doing very, very well in that competition. But every year we promise a lot and don't tend to deliver. But under 18s beat Barnsley 2-1. It's a penalty from Victor Akinwale and a winner from Ole Odabomi late on. About 3 minutes to go, and that Palace had gone 1-0 down in the 70th minute in that game, but straight back in it, and then a late winner, and they're always great to witness. So we progress in the competition for the first time in a while. And Patrick, did you see any of this?
I did. I'm really liking watching that team play. Akinwale is a player we want to watch for the future. He's a very clinical striker. I love the way he plays. I like what the manager's doing. He's starting to play Adebayo more, and he's a big, strong kid, and he's really linking up well with Akinwale. And I really like the way they're playing. The thing is, we're actually missing our best player because Jaden Raymond hasn't played the last couple of matches in that side. So I know we brought Wells Morrison down from the 23s, and he played pretty well in that game. But the future's bright for that team. I'm looking forward to the next round. Because as you said, Chris, I've actually seen we've won I think Youth Cup 3 times in our history. I think twice when I was actually over there. Sanson's team won at Hilaire. Those guys won. So no, the future looks bright. I really like that team. Looking good.
Definitely. And, obviously you can look at it and say, Barnsley aren't the biggest team out there, but I think in that cup competition, it really is something of a lottery sometimes. The strangest of results here, there and everywhere. It's not, you'd think if it was logic, the big teams would win every time, wouldn't they? But they never tends to be that way.
Exactly.
Nick?
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison Patrick made there with the kind of youth team of the 80s, the youth team of the late 70s that would make them, wouldn't it? Because there are 3 or 4 players in there that could potentially go on, and whether they'd form a spine of a team like Terry Venables did with the whole youth team.
Right.
It's something that Vieira said he wants to do, so it'll be really interesting how much that comes off.
Indeed. Well, in the senior FA Cup, gentlemen, we've managed to draw Millwall away. So we'll see how that goes. I think, it's a very welcome return to being able to play Millwall, because it's getting to that point where you forgot they actually existed, right? But there you go. We get to go and play them, see what they've been up to for what's it been, 10 years? I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I've no idea. It's been a very long time. So good opportunity to go and see what they've been getting up to and what kind of a team they have down there. Now they're as insignificant as they are, but we'll see we'll see how the ticketing situation goes. And I don't know. I desperately want to get back to a game, but every time I get to a point where I'm like, right, third booster shot, give it a few weeks, I'll be able to go back. New variant appears now. And with my health issues, I can't take risks. So getting very frustrated, but hopefully I'll be able to get to a game soon, and I'd love to be at that one. But probably a bit early for me. But anyway, very much looking forward to that. And just to mention, in terms of the 23s, we talked about we've talked about their performances for a few weeks now. Beating the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man United in the in the 23s league, and absolutely just steaming it at the moment. And it's Jezrin Raksaki who's been nominated for Player of the Month. So fingers crossed. I don't know if that's been announced yet, but hopefully, if it hasn't, or if it has, hopefully he'll win that one, because that team as well, Patrick, Nick, I don't know how much of them you've seen recently, but Paddy's doing a tremendous job with them. They're probably stronger than they were last year under Derry. Got some real talent in there. The likes of, you mentioned Wells Morrison earlier on. He's quite an influential player, but strong centre backs, strong forwards. Rob Street does a good job in there when he plays. But they've got options in Omalabu, and obviously Raksaki out wide is one hell of a prospect. You've got Scott Banks as well. It's just there's a lot in there, isn't there, Patrick?
Yeah, a couple of things. One of the benefits of my international membership is I get to see the games on Palace TV. So when I'm home, which is a lot, I get to watch a lot of games. So I watch them pretty frequently. So I like that side a lot. I like what Paddy's doing. Last year, it was very off and on as far as, the lineup, because he'd bring not a lot, but a lot of times you see like some of the senior players get chances, but that really rarely happens unless we're trying to get someone some fitness. So it's a very solid, team that he puts out every week, and I like what they're doing. Raksaki now is an interesting thing, because now we've got the January. You mentioned the Millwall game. We've got Brighton that week. We've got West Ham that that same time. We have a lot of fixtures early January, and with Ayew possibly going, or probably going, and Schlupp going to the AFCON. Wolf, I'm not so sure about with COVID, and probably Kouyaté going. I think Raksaki might get a look in January. I'm really looking forward to seeing him get some minutes and see how he looks with the first team.
Yeah, it'd be a tremendous opportunity for him if it does pan out that way. And you wouldn't bet against him taking it. I think getting that little taster early on, making the bench a lot, getting a little taster in the team, but then having to go back to the 23s and really kind of earn the right to play, it's a good thing. And that's where players either sink or swim on their mentality. For him to be turning in the performances he is week in, week out, it's arguably he's earned the chance to feature when the gaps are available, and can't wait to see it. Anyway, that's your news for the week. Let's crack on with talking about the Everton game, and obviously, gentlemen, fantastic to get a win. And before we get into any of the detail, from my perspective, when I sat down to watch the game, and have it how we had performed in the last few, not that I thought we were terrible, but we had moments where we weren't great. I genuinely didn't expect us to sort of be able to flick that switch and return to the way we'd played when our confidence was up. I thought we'd have to build back up to that. So I don't know what we did in training. I don't know what the difference was and what the mentality was. I know what I thought it was once the game started and people started, turning in performances. But, from minute one, really, to have the mentality in that healthier place that we could just go and play our game against Everton, I was so encouraged by that. And I think looking at the lineup, it wasn't a tremendous surprise to see Joel Ward return at right back. Didn't think Anderson would be fit, so Tompkins continuing there. Again, not a surprise. I didn't expect Elise to start. I didn't expect Eze to start. So I wasn't really too surprised with anything in the lineup other than the inclusion of Will Hughes. Obviously, Luka Milivojevic nowhere to be seen. I think he was injured or unwell. I think I'm right in saying no, he was or suspended. I'm just trying to remember which one it was. It's one of those things. Help me out, guys. Was he suspended?
I think he was.
Yeah.
I think he was.
Anyway, he wasn't available. Yeah. But I was just, obviously Hughes had some minutes, but to see him start the game was a little bit of a surprise. And, well, he was absolutely tremendous in that game, before he went off. So, I mean, Nick, I'll start with you. A sort of terrier-like performance. He is he looked like the MacArthur replacement there and then that we expected him to be, right?
Yeah, I was thinking this afternoon, leading up to the pod, how important is that position for us to play well? Because when we haven't had anybody in there doing that role really well, being the engine, everybody knows what I mean by that, but everything seemed to go through him. He had trickery, he had confidence. Now, a lot of that, if we got Hughes in that position, that's when we tick. Think back to Kabay, think back to Mile, think back to Luca's first season, think back to Michael Hughes, all these players. Is that the most important position in our team to make us tick really well, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of that comes from what's around them, and if you can have a player who can get through in the amount of work that he got through, and then, you can put MacArthur in this bracket as well, get through that level of work, have that confidence and quality on the ball and the precision with your passing, all of those things together, in one player, it's what it does to the rest of the team. It frees up people ahead of it. It freed up Gallagher for a start. We've been trying to find that balance with Luka and Kouyaté in there, and various sort of combinations, when other players haven't been available, and it just doesn't seem to give Gallagher that same freedom. The last few games, he hasn't had the impact on the game that he'd had, when they had, a settled lineup behind him, if you like, with MacArthur in there. So I think it's really, really important on other players more than anything.
Yeah, that's where I was wrong a couple of weeks ago when MacArthur was injured. I said, oh yeah, Gallagher can do that role, but actually he can do that role, but we lose too much elsewhere for him to do it. It's more important in other places on the pitch. So,
what do you think, though, Patrick? I mean, Nick's making a really good point there, and I think it's true. But I mean, first of all, what did you make of the Hughes performance? What did he bring? And arguably, does he bring more to the table than MacArthur?
So here's the thing. I think people really need to give Vieira a lot of credit. In the past, we've seen the managers we've had who would have honestly just stuck with the Schlupp, Kouyaté, Gallagher, may switch roles around a little bit, would have just stuck with them, figured, it's only been a couple of matches, give him a few more to get through it. And Vieira looked at it and said, no, I'm going to change it. But what he did was, for me, when I saw the three, I'm like, okay, I like Hughes starting, and he played really well. But I'll put him on the left side, he's left-footed, leave Kouyaté in the middle, and have Gallagher go back his original role. But he didn't do that. He actually put Hughes in the Kouyaté role, had Kyoto play box to box, and then put Gallagher back, and it just changed the entire way that we played, and it was so great to watch. 'Cause I thought Gallagher is so much better when he's allowed that freedom to help out Ayew on the right, help out Edward or Benteke up front, and then get involved more and take as many shots as he possibly can. And Hughes was just brilliant. I actually spent a lot of time just watching him at some point in the game, and all he did was stand in the center circle and drop down and pick up balls, drive forward, knock balls left, right, center. It was a joy to watch. So from the perspective of watching Hughes play and the roles that he played, it was absolutely brilliant. As I mentioned to DR yesterday in the show we did at we did the play ratings. Imagine now you put you put MacArthur in Kouyate's role. What midfield three we're going to have there with those three in the middle? It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So yeah, as far as Hughes went, Hughes was brilliant yesterday. I mean, Sunday, brilliant.
It's interesting you bring that up of the idea of MacArthur playing alongside him, because I've been sitting here thinking about him as a replacement, because obviously Kouyaté brings you certain other things as well,
right?
Which is the height, that ability to slot into being an extra centre back if you need one.
Yes,
he brings other things to the table, but it probably is his place in threat. When MacArthur's fit, you're probably right there. But I wonder what we might lose in terms of our already shaky defending of set pieces if you take Kouyaté out of that team.
Good point.
So anyway, lots to think about there, and it's nice to have that problem for sure. But fantastic performance from Hughes. Did really, really well in the game. I thought also Tompkins showing signs of just shaking off that bit of rust from not playing as much, because not only did he score in the game, but I thought in a general sense his performance was a lot stronger. What do you make of that, Nick?
Yeah, he just seemed to exude confidence, didn't he? He hasn't got the pinpoint accuracy of getting balls across like Anderson can, but against Everton we didn't need a player to play those balls because we had dangers coming from elsewhere. So I think once he didn't have to worry about that so much, he was able to focus on defending a bit more, seemed a bit more confident passing the ball about as well, didn't he? I mean, his success rate was 98%.
Yeah, I was going to say misplaced one pass all game, which is incredible.
How good is that, man? So it's and he's getting used to the style. He's not going to come in straight away, is he? And fit straight in. So it's good. And does Anderson come in tomorrow? Do we keep him there? I think the look on his little face when he scored. Oh, it was a joy to behold. It melted my heart. You know what I mean? Of all the people he wanted to score, Tompkins, it was like, oh, I'm so glad. He just deserves the plaudits for a bit. Sorry.
I know it's the time of the season, but the way you spoke there, you talked about him like he's Tiny Tim.
I know.
He tapped the ball in the back post and said, "God bless us, everyone." But he didn't. He didn't say that. I just think we talked about it after the Villa defeat. He was. You kind of had the confidence he'd come in and we wouldn't miss Anderson, but we really did. But he has all the capability in the world to play in that role. He just doesn't have perhaps that range of passing that Anderson does have, and that seemed very, very important to the way we played. But I thought we had adapted well, very, very well, in fact, the way we played against Everton. But that kind of leads me on to my next question, and I suppose I'll ask it if you, Patrick. Thinking about the way we played in the first half, obviously I've already mentioned that I was really encouraged and surprised to some degree that we were able to just to play that dominantly first of all, play with such confidence, considering we'd had a run of 3 very tough games where we either felt hard done by or we really hadn't done ourselves justice. But did Everton and the way they approached the game, did they play into our hands a little bit? Did they do what we've seen in the past from Palace teams of handing the initiative to the opposition, giving them that opportunity to get their confidence back maybe?
Have to say absolutely 100% Hambo. What I do on my free time, I like to watch and listen to other podcasts or other clubs and stuff like that. So the Everton podcast, people have been going nuts about how do you come off second half display on Monday against Arsenal with a great 3-2 and then play so passively against Crystal Palace. He played right into our hands. I mean, I know they're missing Calvert-Lewin, and Calvert-Lewin is a very big part to how Benitez wants to play. He needs to have like a big, strong striker up front. That's why Rondon actually came on and plays. But yeah, they were very passive, and it allowed us at home to gain our confidence. with the possession. At one point, it was like 70% to 30% in the first half. It was ridiculous, the possession. And then you add into that the pressing. Everton totally played into our hands, which really, really helped us. Not take away anything from our display at all or Vieira's tactics, but I think that had Everton been a bit more proactive, we would have had a lot more problems. And even look at the first goal, the fact they were so silly in trying to play out the back, and then Ayew, gets the ball and sets up Gallagher. I think in that alone shows you how fortunate we were to come up against a team like Everton at this time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you can give it kind of the mirror image of the opening goal and the third goal, can't you? Really,
yes,
and they still haven't learned from those mistakes. And
exactly,
it's not, obviously we're not here to analyse Everton's performance and the way they played, but you definitely have concerns. But it just looked very familiar to me. It looked a little bit like we've been seeing previously. Which I won't go into too much detail because some people hate it when I do. But It looked a little bit like a team that were, they started the season so well. Everything was, the balance was perfect. But they've lost a couple of players, and it's just trying to find that, that balance again. Just trying to find the best way to play, and the best way to play was not to allow us to dominate the way we did. They weren't strong in the press. They pressed with too few players. Just gave us that opportunity to play the ball around and build our own confidence. But as you say, Patrick, that doesn't take anything away from what we did at all, because we had to walk through the door they opened for us.
Yeah, a perfect example though, as far as how they play. Look at Andros Townsend. How great was he the first 4 or 5 matches for them, and how has he fallen off? How much has he fallen off since then? I mean, Gray's been very good since then, but Andros was brilliant the first 4 matches because they played a certain way. Had Calvert-Lewin up front. As soon as Calvert-Lewin goes down, Andros' play falls off. They've fallen off big time. So again, I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah. I saw him looking round after about 20 minutes, Townsend. There was a break in play, and he looked forlorn that he didn't play at Selhurst every week. It was so noisy. No, seriously, you could see him really looking at each stand closely and soaking it all in. And I wonder if he was thinking, if only I hadn't demanded so big a wage packet, I might still be able to be part of this. I wonder if he looks over at Vieira and looks over at his manager and thinks, I've come out the wrong way here, haven't I?
Yeah, maybe. But, again, we don't know the ins and outs of that situation.
Yeah, sure.
But, I think he would have been very, very happy to have made that change, as you said, as Patrick said, in those opening games. But I think, again, I'm not going to repeat what you said, Patrick. It's spot on. The way the team are playing suited him, and now it doesn't. And we've seen that ourselves with Andros over the years. If you ask him we give him the opportunity to do the things that he's great at, and he's an outstanding player.
Absolutely.
Just put any limitations on him and tell him that he has to do very, very specific things that aren't his forte, then you lose 20-30% of the player. And he's still a good player. And I've got a lot of love for him. He was a fantastic player for us, and really enjoyed him. And I was very sad to see him go. And but I thoroughly enjoyed him being nutmegged by Will. I'm not going to lie.
Exactly.
Yes, that was good.
I just want to know what they said to each other, because they must. Then there must have been follow up as well. If you're Wilf, you've definitely screenshotted that and sent it to him about 450,000 times since. So, really good stuff. Thinking a little bit about the the things that we kind of questioned before we start talking about the goals. The things that we questioned over the last few weeks, a lot of the choice of subs and the timing of substitutions was something that did come up a couple of times, maybe. And if you, I think, there's two things to think about here. One was the fact that we managed to score exactly, probably 2 minutes after the Everton had made their changes, which really helped the situation in the game. If anything, it made us relax perhaps a little bit too much. But I think when we had to do our game management in this game, I think we did that really well. And I wanted to bring it up because it was something that, a lot of people were very, very critical of Vieira in the last few weeks. Because, for me, it's something we kind of picked up most weeks, that he's got the subs right and the timing right. But it was really questioned. So, Hughes, I think, was starting to run out of steam a little bit when he was replaced by Jeffrey Schlupp. But I do think we struggled a little bit after he went off the pitch. just for that short period while we adjusted to it. But I think it needed to happen. I think Hughes was going to tire, and you don't want to get, you don't want to see players get injured when they haven't had a full pre-season. They've been working their way up to fitness and haven't played a lot of football. So I think that was probably the right moment. Edouard for Benteke was perfect in the sense that, Edouard had put in a real shift, but we weren't really holding the ball up as well as we needed to. And we really needed to occupy a tiring defence with someone with a bit more physical presence. I thought that was great. Obviously, Klein for Mitchell late on doesn't really matter. But those two changes, I thought he did really well. And I say that in the sense that the second half was a tough one to manage, because with a team that's conceded, that's lost points in the last 3 games, lost 3 games on the bounce, is one that is fragile in confidence. So when we have the situation where, Rondon tucks the ball away after a slightly cruel deflection from the block, the fact it falls perfectly for him, a little bit unlucky, and we can analyse that in a bit. But it's very easy for that team to crumble at that point, and we didn't. We made some decent changes. We kept pressing and getting the third goal. That's something that scoring a goal you didn't need to win the game, but scoring that goal in the 93rd minute, is testament to how we play and how we operate now. So I realise I haven't asked a question in that, but more of an observation from myself, a lovely monologue. But he got it right.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no worries.
It's charming. If you need to sleep, just listen to that over and over again, and you'll be gone in 40 minutes for insomniacs everywhere. Hughes had to come off. We got 3 games in 7 days. It's ridiculous time of year for fixtures, so we want him performing at his best when he's on the pitch. So get him off if we need to. We can now mix and match in the defence. We've got a bit of squad depth. January we can add to it, but it's just protecting everything now. We've got a few games I think that we've got a good chance of getting points from, haven't we? So it's and also with Benteke in there, you've got the option to cross in, so you're not only making the subs, but you're also changing the style of play, which is something that we like to see at Crystal Palace in this new modern age.
Yeah, controversially, I actually didn't like the Schlupp for Hughes, a sub. I agree, totally take Hughes out. He was definitely tiring, but I would have liked to have seen either Eze go in and move Kouyaté inside and have Eze get a chance to go play with Gallagher, or I would have liked to see Njaro come in. I know he hasn't played since the Liverpool match, and I get people have basically written him off, but I would have liked to see him get on. So it worked out, and I have no problem with it, but I think he's definitely 100% trust Schlupp in anything he does, which is fine. And I loved what Schlupp did with Coleman at the end of the match when we scored that goal. Yeah. But I really would have liked to have seen Eze or Jaro get in. But again, I'm not criticising Vieira. I love what he's doing, but it's just a thought.
Yeah, well, I'm one who's always had an issue with Schlupp as a central midfielder.
Exactly.
And I won't hide from that. That's an opinion I still hold. I think he. But what I'll say about him is that he is a player that managers trust. He's someone who he's a smart.
Yes.
He's an intelligent footballer. He can take instructions. He can help.
Yes.
Carry the manager's instructions out on the pitch. He's a player that brings you that for a start. So playing him in centre, I actually genuinely think he's fantastic as either as an orthodox left winger or left of a front three, or even centre. I don't mind him playing through the centre if we're chasing the goal and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think that we have better options as central midfielders, because I think he just he has a habit of going to sleep. Particularly running back the other way, and I think it detracts from what.
Yeah, the Fred goal is a perfect example of falling asleep. Fred goal, he was standing next to him and didn't do anything. So yeah,
exactly. So when we didn't review that game, and it wasn't just us sulking because we lost. We just didn't get an opportunity. Very difficult. But
7 hours. In the car getting back from that nightmare. These away games, but it's hard because the fixes are all over the place. So that's why the pods have been a bit hit and miss, isn't it? Plus the illness.
You miss in terms of being produced. They're all fantastic quality. anyway. But yeah, that we would have. That's what the analysis of that goal would have been included in the podcast that didn't exist. But yeah, that would have been what I would have talked about. The fact that it was unfortunately Jeffrey Schlupp who went to sleep in a central midfield position. You just can't do that. You can get away with that up front or out wide when you're attacking third. You can get away with it here and there, but top level central midfielder cannot switch off at any point. And
it's the Jeffrey Schlupp that's equalises against Leicester, isn't it?
It was fantastic header from him. Yeah, look, going forward, I also actually think he's better than even he thinks he is going forward. I think he can really, if he wants to just get that ball and drive at a team with it, he's got incredible pace. He's really very skillful. Tremendous finish on him. If you can harness all of that, just think he needs to back himself. I think he's been undervalued in the past and played in the wrong place, in my opinion. But I think going back to what you said, Patrick, he's a trustworthy player, and that's why Vieira puts him in there. If he wants to go in, it's on 70 minutes, he wants to go and organise the team in a slightly different way, he's going to chuck Jeff on because he's the one who's going to give the instructions the right way and gee everybody up, in the way that's intended. So I can understand it, and that's why I thought it was a decent change, and I thought it was well timed, and ultimately what kept us with the 3 points. But there were plenty of other things that happened, but for individual moments, it could have gone a different way. We have to be real about that. We were easily deserving of a 3-1 win, but it could have been different. So let's talk about the first goal, and it's, as we talked about, there is a theme between our first goal and our third goal, and that theme is persistence. We have to mention the fact that he got through on goal very early on. Actually, having viewed it a couple of times, Patrick, it wasn't a bad strike. Well saved by the right foot of Pickford. But, Jordan Ayew hasn't scored for a very long time. And whilst we're talking about him in a game where he was absolutely outstanding, it was one of his best performances in a Palace shirt. He got, rightly got the assist in this particular goal. But that finish wasn't there, was it, early on?
Yeah, and the thing is, I know that what does Mike call him? His Ghanaian prince. I wouldn't go that far with him, but I backed him a lot because I really like Ayew. I like his work ethic, and I know everyone talks about, oh well, he's a forward, he's got to score more goals, and I get all that. But you mentioned that word trust, Chris. I definitely think Vieira trusts Jordan to do a certain role, and he's doing well. Again, I think the issue with him obviously is confidence. You're right. That was not a bad strike. He could have squared the ball. I think if I remember right, I'm looking at it now, is that Wolf was available at the back post. But it was a good strike. Yeah. It was a decent save by Pickford. But the assist that he had for the Gallagher goal, you got to give him credit because, again, I talk about him having confidence, but on that opportunity, again, he could have probably shot. The angle was right, but he rightly looked up, saw Gallagher, put a great ball in, and made a great move actually before that to kind of get free to get the crossover. And it was a really good pass and a really good finish by Gallagher. So people want to slay him, and I get it. People just, again, I always said this, man. We love a scapegoat. If you don't like a player, doesn't what he does, you're not going to like him, and vice versa. If you love a player, no matter what bad he does, you're not going to love him. And I was definitely falling in that category. People just don't like him. A lot of our fan base, and no matter what he does, they're not going to like him. But no, great assist by him. I really hope he gets a goal because, as I mentioned to you yesterday, when I remember the goal he scored, the first goal he scored for us against Wolves, he started crying the away game. And he just needs a goal. He's such an emotional player. You can tell when he gets subbed up, he's always got that face on. He hates that. But I really hope he gets a goal soon because he deserves it. He's really working hard. He's played well in the last 3 matches at the very least. United, Leeds, and then Sunday. But no, he played really well for that goal, so he deserved it.
He did, and I think most important thing was that the confidence and the quality in his delivery all game was there.
Yes,
some of the crosses he put in from that side were fantastic, and he just didn't stop. And it's not just we talked about it before. It's probably not enough at this level to be able to run around at high speed for 90 minutes. It's not enough, is it?
Right.
But he isn't that player, right? Sometimes in different systems, sometimes effectively that's all he was giving you every week, and you kind of just thought, well, enough's enough. We need some more quality in there. But when he brings the quality that he did in this particular game, Elisa is not going to get past that because Elisa doesn't have those other elements to his game. So,
right.
And it's important that that should push Elise on to develop himself as a more complete player. and it should also push Ayew to keep putting these performances in. And there's a good battle going on there. Nick?
Yeah, you stole my thunder a little bit there. We've actually, I know we say it year on year and how much better our squad seems to be getting. But truly, in 2 or 3 positions now, we've got genuinely 2 brilliant players vying for effectively the same position. So you've got Hughes and MacArthur. Hughes is going to come in, all right, he's got those skills, but he doesn't want to give that spot back now to Jimmy Mack. As much as he may respect him, he's going to try and keep hold of that spot. And Ayew's got to do the same. And okay, he's getting closer and closer. He was inches away against Man United, and he was our outstanding player against Man United, I thought, for actual giving it some and trying to get at them. And his performance on Saturday is almost a man of the match. It's hard to pick one Saturday. But just remember the West Ham goal. He'll always give us that. And if that's all he's remembered for, it's worth it.
Yeah, that is still up there with one of the best moments I've ever witnessed in the crowd.
Have you had your mouth open for so long at a game?
No, exactly.
For one period of time, just the whole lot. Your mouth was open all the way through from when he picked the ball up, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, still a wonderful moment that. But and it was, it's not equally as impressive, but it was still very, very impressive. You're quite right, Patrick, in terms of the quality of the assist. It looked a really simple ball. In fact, the goal itself, especially when you compare it to Gallagher's second goal, right. You almost don't want to talk about it too much because it's it's quite simple, doesn't it? Pounce on a mistake, cut the ball back, finish. But first of all, the intensity of the press, the persistence of knowing that the game isn't dead at that point. You haven't. You've given the ball away, but the game isn't dead. So that's impressive in itself. The calmness and the accuracy of the ball, because most people listening to this or engaging with it, and those of us on the panel have kicked a ball, right? We know what it's like to kick a football. Even that pass, to it to be perfectly in the stride of somebody making a really good run. To be perfectly in stride for the finish is a difficult skill. It's something that he's done, time and time again. But it makes what was an excellent run from Gallagher and a very good finish from Gallagher. But it made it easy. That's why it's such a good pass.
Yeah, I just realized though that goal now. Remember the Man City, the goal he scored against Man City when at least he set him up. It's very similar to that goal. As far as the way it was set off across the box. And again, Gallagher's actually become a very good finisher of balls like that across the box, which again, they're not easy. I think that one went in off the post against, it did off Ederson, but it's very similar setup where the ball comes across from the right side, right across to the top of about around the 6-yard box, and he just turns his hip and swivels and hits it in. He's really become an excellent finisher. I know you guys probably watched the post-match comments, but even he doesn't realize how good he's become as far as how many goals he scored, Gallagher, and how well he's finishing. So the kid's got a very big future.
He really has, and I dare say most weeks we'll be talking about that future, but I think I'll
exactly
skip it this week because I'm getting more depressed about it. Sorry, I'm about to try and eat part of a sausage roll, and I have a dog looking at me.
Has the dog made it to the dog bed yet that you spent a great deal of money on?
No, the dog has yet to show any interest in the actual dog bed, and at the moment is just lurking behind me.
And that's how it is now, mate. This is your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see if we can distract her. Anyway, I am talking of being distracted. I have been distracted by the by what I was about to say. So anyone got any ideas of what I was going to say?
Something about sausage rolls. That's the last thing I remember you talking about. Yeah. No, can I just, I know it's not in the show doc that I said we shouldn't ever mention, but it was a lovely moment on 16 Minutes when we had the applause and the display for the HF to celebrate 16 years. And the fact that somebody outside the ground let off fireworks, and I was just imagining the conversation of trying to persuade somebody to miss the match to let the fireworks off. Or did they get one of the HF's dads to do it?
Well, yeah, there you go. It could be an HF dad, couldn't it? Or mum.
Yeah,
or friend, non-football liking friend. You never know. It could be anything.
I'd like to think it'd be a fan missing the game for the cause. It's more romantic that way.
It is, yeah. Okay, we'll stick with that. Anyway, I'm back on track following the sausage roll dog distraction. And look, we want to talk a little bit about the second goal, and I think so. Conor Gallagher's been taking a lot of the set pieces, and he does put in a decent ball. You know, he's obviously in terms of striking at goal, he's got a bit of talent about him, but putting in delivery from free kicks and corners is pretty good. But Nick, talk to me about Will Hughes's corners, please. You know, all that stuff, years and years of me saying, well, it's a really difficult skill to put a corner in perfectly every time. You know, it doesn't really work that way. Thoughts on Will Hughes's corners?
Well, we were gutted when he went off. That's how good they were, because it's nice to have somebody that could put in corners well consistently, because that's what we've missed, is the consistency of the corners. Luke could put a perfect one in and then put three that won't get past the near post. Hughes seems to have an automatic leg, doesn't he? Brilliant.
An automatic leg. Go on, Patrick.
That corner was so good. 3 players could have scored that goal. If you watch it again, I think it's Gahey, Edward, both missed the header. And then finally at the back post, Tompkins controls it and scores. It's very rare you get a corner kick where 3 players have a chance to score on the same cross. That's how good it was. And you're right to point it out, Chris, because we've been struggling all season. That's our first corner kick, set piece goal all season. It's match 16. Something we were proud ourselves under people like Pulis and Allardyce of being good at. And it's nice to finally see someone that, you know, we haven't seen play all season come in and right from the off be very good at taking corner kicks. And it's something we're going to need, because, you know, you can't always rely on scoring balls from open play. So you've got someone like him who can get balls in. And so I tell you right now, Beteke's going to love his corners going forward. So that's something to really look forward to.
I wonder if we learned that from the defending set pieces, because that was like a facsimile of what we've let in 3 or 4 times this season. That goal. Did you not notice?
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah, exactly. No one marking the back post, the ball somehow getting through. That was our style. Yeah. You're quite right. He's like, okay, that's interesting. Maybe I'll lurk there. But no, I think the delivery in itself, the fact it's a high arcing delivery that kind of the dips, it stops keepers coming out and claiming it when it's like that, and it makes it very, very hard for defenders to kind of judge the trajectory. So yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I like the fact that we were piling in there as well. As you say, Patrick, more than one person could have scored from that corner, but excellent to see, and long may that continue. But it's great stuff, and I think it's fair to say we relaxed a little bit after that, but also Everton had to do something. Their form hasn't been great. I think it's 9 games. They'd had 5 points out of 9 games, something like that. And they would have looked at this game against a side that was struggling for a little bit of form in recent times. They would have looked at that as a game to certainly pick up a minimum of a point. So to be losing the game, to go 2-0 down, there was always going to be a response, because up to that point, the shackles had been on. They were playing counter-attack. They were letting us have the ball. As soon as that went in, they had to actually back themselves to attack. And, again, if you talk back to being, if you're an Everton fan, you're thinking, well, why wait until you're 2-0 down to start putting some pressure on the home team? But, we weren't great from conceding the goal. But ultimately, it is a tap-in. It's a moment of pressure. It's a moment where we were a bit too, we'd lost a bit of shape, a little bit of discipline as Everton came forward. But the moment where sort of Ward steps across the shot that came in from the edge of just off the edge of the box, and it just deflects perfectly. So you couldn't have played the ball across the sort of the box better for Rondon to get the tap in, even if Gay is sliding in. But I don't know.
They'd have factored that in. Rondon always scores against us, so I reckon Vieira would have factored that goal into his game plan, because Rondon never doesn't score. So Vieira so smart
as well. So
yeah, we knew that was going to happen. As soon as he came on, Will said to me he's going to score, and he always does.
Go on, Patrick. What do you think?
Well, I have a question. We got a question from Dr. Esport. It's in French though, so I'll read it to you guys. See if you can figure out what he's trying to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Le comportement de l'équipe après le second but pas satisfaisant. Ils ont arrêté de jouer. What do you think you're trying to say there?
Well, I think. Go on. I mean, obviously, Nick, you were going to jump in first there, but I have to say, I agree. We did really, after second goal, the behaviour wasn't great, was it? The team lost their focus, I think, and of course, I think we shouldn't really switch off after the second goal. We should have done better. What do you think, Nick?
C'est un point intéressant, docteur. Nous avions l'air un peu complaisants. Dieu merci, Conor l'a mis dans le sac à d'oignons.
You've just unnecessarily said something completely. That is not an answer to even that question. You brought Conor into it. Why have you brought Conor into it? Anyway, something for our French listeners, anyway. But yeah, obviously, of which I'm aware there are many of those. But
other online translation services are available.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. But look, it's a good point, and obviously for those of you that don't want to look it up or can't be bothered or don't speak French, the comment really was about the fact that the team, didn't really respond properly to going 2 goals up, switched off, and just stopped playing, which they did arguably, but. My point to that would always be that you've got to consider the fact that there's another team, there's another manager, there's another bench, there's another group of players who have pride.
Exactly.
It's not so much one team definitely switching off as another team actually switching on for 2 minutes as well, which I think was the case for Everton.
How many people in the back of the nest WhatsApp chat said they're going to equalise, aren't they? I think it was all of you. Every single one of you said they're going to equalise.
Yeah, late equaliser, absolutely. Let's face it, we weren't far off, were we? Prior to the the fantastic last goal, there was a brilliant block in there from Joel Ward at one point.
Yep.
Who'd had a little bit of a wobble prior to that, hadn't he? He'd kind of let something go past him he shouldn't have done, and I was like, "Oh, Joel, come on!" And then moments later, he just absolutely dug one out of the bag. That was brilliant. And obviously, Guaita, I think, in particular, the save from Gordon, wasn't it? With when he got down low with his right hand and pushed it out, and that, on another day, that goes to goes to an attacker, doesn't it? And it was just so happens it didn't on that occasion. So we rode our luck a little bit, and that late equaliser very nearly did come, but we saved the best moments to last and summed up everything about our team right at the end there, which was, first and foremost, you've got Gallagher arguing about the fact a free kick was given to Everton in their corner. They're looking to hit it forward quickly, but we don't stop with the pressure. The pressure keeps coming. And eventually it's Gallagher who wins the ball back after a quite odd pass from the right back position, picks the ball up. Apparently Benteke screams for him to leave it. He thinks no such thing, and just drills one into the top corner. It's a thing of absolute beauty. And, so Nick, talk to me about the feeling at the ground.
Oh, it's magnificent, wasn't it? It was like I said, everybody thought Everton were going to equalise, and to actually just come back and get that goal late into the game as well, which again is something that's happened to us this season. It's nice that the boot's on the other foot, mixing with metaphors there, but it was just a special moment that made you love him even more. And somebody set up a crowdfunder, haven't they, to keep Conor? I think that's quite a good idea. It'd be great if you could do that, because the more he does, the more you think you're going to miss him when he goes. And it's hard to get that emotional balance of just being in the moment of he's something special. 21. What's he going to be like in 5 or 6 years' time? It's just glad that he's doing it at Selhurst.
Someone has put together a GoFundMe, by the way. And so far, I've raised £105. So, almost there.
And do you think that's we're almost there? I think probably get maybe 20, 30 more pounds. There's a real chance. I think.
Put that bid in quickly.
Yeah. Good effort though. He's a tremendous player, isn't he? But I mean, I told my Chelsea supporting friend I think he's better than Lampard. And will prove better than Lampard, and that's big words. But I just think he's got so much going for him.
Yeah, funny you say that because I watched the Vieira press conference, and one of the last questions was, who does he remind you of, Patrick? And he said a little bit of Ray Parlour, his former teammate. Then he said Frank Lampard. So you're a great mind think alike, Chris. You're right. I mean, he does for me
Well, there you
too.
go.
The funny thing is, I know that people complained about. Alex made a comment. He's 25% better than he was at West Brom last year. If you can do the maths, he scored 2 goals last year, one against us. He scored 6 so far this year. So I had that 25% better. Does Allardyce even know mathematics at all? So
I don't think so. I think he knows it in quantities of wine. I think
exactly
pints and and yeah. Anyway, it's quite enough of that. But look, fantastic player. Let's not get caught up in whether or not he's even staying past January. Let's move on with our lives and enjoy him here, and hope that somehow, somewhere, Chelsea decide to go and spend a shit ton of money on somebody who's not worth it and sell us him, because then we'll all be happy, won't we?
Yes.
But look, the finish was fantastic. There's a lot to admire about it, but it's just, as you said, Nick, it's that moment, isn't it? That moment of a last gasp screamer. Yes, it wasn't technically the winning goal, and as you talk about, we've had to suffer many, many late equalisers or late screamers, certainly over the last few years and into this season. But it was ours this time. And fantastic to see. So, in terms of performers, I've picked out mine as I've gone, and I think we'll all be pretty similar. So, unless you guys have got any further comments to make, I think the best 3 on the pitch were probably Ayew, Hughes, and Gallagher, of course. And we picked out a few other performers as we've gone, and everybody was good. But anyone else you think needs special mention?
It's just nice that we're talking about a good performance and Wilf's name hasn't been mentioned.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Yeah, and I thought he was good. I thought he was really economical with the ball, didn't overplay at any point, really. Worked incredibly hard, drew a lot of attention, drew a lot of fouls, and kept the rest of the team going at time. Expressed himself in the right way. I thought he was really good, really solid performance. But you're right, we're a different team, a different squad now. We don't even have to focus on him.
I got to give Guaita a shout out. I've not been down on him, but I've been wanting him to make a really big save at a big moment, and he did that. The Gordon save was pivotal. We've seen, he's mentioned just now, Chris, we definitely had a penchant to give up late goals. And the fact that he made that save, then we go on and have that spectacular Gallagher one that pushed it away is important. So I want to give a shout out. He wasn't that busy. Honestly, Everton had some free kicks and other things that didn't really worry him. But when he had to make a big save, he's done it. And I really appreciate that because I want to be fair. I have gotten on his case a couple of times the last few matches. Not that it's been his fault, but he's made a massive save. And you need that out of your keeper every once in a while. And he did it. So good. Big up to Vicente.
Excellent stuff. No, thanks for that. It's a very, very well made point. Yeah, I think let's end it there, and in terms of the review, and start getting into some listener contact now.
Can I just end the review by saying it went off bloody nice walking back to the car after winning, and only having a short drive home, and just the general cheerfulness around the street, and it's the Everton fans squabbling amongst themselves over what their manager should have done in that game, not ours. It was nice, and it's made the weekend again. I'd forgotten what that was like, especially when you go a long way and lose. It's
a great feeling, isn't it? It's a great feeling to stepping out with your chest puffed out, walking, looking at the miserable faces. It doesn't matter how cold it is or how far you've had to travel when you feel like that. So just watching as the dog took my spot on the sofa again. Thank you, dog.
What does the dog do if you sit on his bed?
I tried that earlier. She just stared directly
ignored.
At me. Yeah. And just wondered what the hell I was doing, so that didn't work. I will win this psychological battle at some point. But,
have you not put a tasty treat on top of the bed to try and entice the dog?
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff there. There was one of those Kong toys, stuff with some lovely liver pate.
Yeah.
There was some tripe chews, bits of sausage, that kind of stuff. Not interested. I
did notice in the photo you sent us before, though, Chris, that you had the dog blanket, and then the dog was on a blanket on the sofa. Now, you said the dog was in your place, so is the blanket normally there for you? so you don't mess yourself up.
The blanket isn't that particular blanket isn't mine. That's my my partner's
But
blanket.
But you do have a blanket that you sit on.
I do have a blanket. I need a blanket because quite often I wake up in the middle of the night without any duvet at all, and someone who is burritoed next to me, so I have to have a blanket. I'm afraid. Not because I'm old, and I know that's what you're driving at, Nick. It's not age, okay?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Anyway, so let's crack on, shall we, with some of the listener questions and contact. I asked the guys to pick out some of their favourite 4-word reviews, and Patrick, I'll start with you. You want to pick up some of your favourites for me?
Yes, first one from Mummy White. Quote, "We've got to buy him." Got to.
Wonder who she means.
I wonder who that could be about. Yes.
Got to. Yeah.
Next one, Mike Deacon at Mike ABFL. "Are you awesome? Sign Gallagher." And the last one, Mr. Cadbury's Parrot at Mr. C Parrot on Twitter. "Will Hughes did well." And I agree 100%. He was brilliant.
Nick, do you want to do some?
I'll go on then. Patrick picked the ones I wanted. Oh, I'm going first next time, Patrick. What a strike, son, from Anton Jean-Baptiste at AF BapZ, SF Jerry, San Francisco Jerry, thank goodness no equaliser, and Jared Himes, wish I was there.
Yeah, me too. That's me too. Yeah, wish I was there.
Yeah, me too as well, mate. Yeah. I'm very jealous of Nick doing every game at the moment. That was my thing for a long time, and I hope to get back to that one day. Couple from me that I'm just going to pick out of the list in front of me. David H. Kings says, "Hughes and Ayew, superb." Adam has gone with effing fantastic, brilliant, unreal in capital letters. Enjoyed that one, Adam. And Richard Tate has gone with 6 more wins required. I think he's still thinking about the magic 40 points there. Nothing like positivity, is there? And
exactly. Talking about a cup run.
Could be talking about a cup run. You're right. So there's a few questions that came in. I'll address there's a few off Twitter, and then there's a whole bunch from Facebook. We'll see how many we get to. But obviously, again, thank you for everyone who sent them in. So Palace Ash said, "Can we mention Coleman trying to smash their free kick at Schlupp in injury time, only to lose it and the ball to drop to Conor?" Which we kind of touched on. And as you mentioned, Patrick, there was the Schlupp in Coleman's face towards the end.
Yes, I love that.
But also we shouldn't ignore Christian Benteke giving it to Pickford as well after Pickford had droppy earlier on.
He's really the pictorial representation of Cower. That is it there, isn't it?
Yeah,
what he does when he blasts the ball.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy that when I know it's not strictly speaking sportsmanlike, but when you've had a game where, let's face it, Everton, were a physical team on the day as well. And there was a lot of needle in it at times. And yeah, I just love the fact that the mentality of the team is that strong that they you think about the teams who go on and do great things. They've always got that about them, whether it's celebrating in each other's faces or constantly putting pressure on the ref and things like that. Unfortunately, you have to do those things, if you're a team that's demanding that high standard. So I found it very encouraging, I have to say. And yeah, if you're on the receiving end of it, not so much, I guess. But Mr. Cadbury's Parrot asked, "Where there's a will, there's a way. Hughes was the missing piece of the jigsaw. Is that how you saw it?" Hopefully we answered that at the top of the show. But, look, it's a squad game as well, though. There'll be times where, he's not. If he does pull out a performance like that every week, I'll be absolutely delighted. But, form and fitness and things like that will have an impact as well. But, when you think about a piece of the jigsaw, it's a 25-man squad plus young players, and so everybody has their part to play. But if he can be that good on the ball and play that, as you said, Patrick, it's intelligent as well as energetic. He wasn't necessarily sprinting the whole time, was he? He was just smart with it, and if he can put a performance like that in every week, it's great.
Yeah, I'm actually watching it now. I just realized when we took Schlupp off, put Schlupp on, he moved Kiyate back into the middle, and then I had Jeff on the left. And actually looking at him now, he actually played a lot better. You're right, Chris. He plays a lot better Schlupp on the left hand side. So I think there'd be an opportunity for him to play possibly in the future with Hughes, Gallagher, and Schlupp. Let's just say that Kiyate comes off and, you make a sub for that. So the midfield three is going to be interesting. It really is a squad game. And I really like the fact that, barring maybe Gyro and Kelly hasn't really played at all, we've actually utilized our squad very well so far with our injuries that we've had. We've only had a couple, MacArthur and Anderson being the main ones. But I got to give the manager a lot of credit, and Butland hasn't really played, obviously, but he's really done a good job with keeping people happy. Because I have thought really Tompkins was going to have a really hard time getting to this team at any point, but he's obviously shown now that he'll be a vital point, cog to the rest of the season for us.
Okay, good stuff. And I want to do these as some quick fire, if I can, please, gents. So, Nick, this is your one first. Leon Saunders has gone for, does the panel think we should go for Nketiah and send Maketa back in January?
Yeah, send Maketa back. Let's just have him as he'll become a cult hero that scored against Brighton and did nothing else, won't he? Nketiah, I'm not so sure about, but I've heard good things as well. So players are raising their game playing under Vieira, so if he can be better than what he has been for Arsenal, it might be worth it.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, isn't it? You play one up front effectively as we do, because the other two aren't orthodox forwards either side. So if you're going to do that, then it's difficult when you start looking at Benteke and Edouard challenging for one spot when Mateta's not getting a look in. If you bring someone like Nketiah in, it strengthens the squad. But is he going to come to not play? And if I think it was Nketiah was there as an alternative to Edouard, not as well as. So I do think Mateta's time with the club is over, and if he can go back in January, I'm sure he will. Although he's made the bench a few times of late, so I don't know. Maybe there'll become some kind of reprieve. Who knows? But we'll move on from that. Patrick, let's go on quick. Go on, Nick, quick.
Good, yeah. Well, Wilf can play striker as well. It's not like we haven't got other players.
Yeah. And although obviously Mike was devastated, Mike Scott was devastated, we lost Scott Dan as a striking option as well. That was always his favourite. One for you, Patrick. Jeff saying, while it's fantastic to see Gallagher performing so well, what does Vieira need to do to get ready for when Gallagher's gone, basically? Do we buy a replacement, or do we have somebody already in the wings? Bearing in mind his skill set is so unique.
For me, it'll be Eze at some point. It won't be the same as Gallagher, but the more I think about it, especially when I saw Hughes in there, and I'm thinking of MacArthur next season, I think that Eze, you give him that freedom that you're giving Gallagher. He doesn't tackle as well, and that's something you have to watch out for. I think he has the work rate that Conor has. He definitely has the ability to score goals. He's good on set pieces. I think Eze will be the person that you can play, because even though we talk about Eze being a 10, I think he can play as an 8, which is what Gallagher does. So I think that at some point we're going to see Eze get time on the pitch in that role. You can't rush him now based on the injury, but I think Eze can be the person that can replace Conor, honestly. Different role, but he can definitely play in the midfield three.
And you've got Elise who can play in that role as well. I think he'd be pretty good as a cab.
Great point.
Okay, moving swiftly on. Mark Vincent has asked, does Jordan Ayew, does he have to start all the time now, or do you think competition for a place is keeping his work rate up? I think we covered that to a point, but I have to say right now, based on that performance, you don't drop him. And if he can put that performance in very regularly, he'll keep his place in the side, and it'll be everybody else who has to up their level to get in there. Warren Sewell has asked, wondering what your thoughts are on replacing Wilf with Eze or Elise versus Southampton. In my honest opinion, our best player, in inverted commas, looks like he needs a rest. Thanks. My answer to that is never drop Wilf. But Nick, Patrick, do you see what Warren is getting at there?
I agree with you. He's getting older. Don't know what his fitness levels are like to be playing that high intensity, especially 3 games in 7 days. So if needs must and he needs a rest, then he needs a rest. We've got players that can fill in ably now. We should just be pleased that that's there.
Yeah, I think people, again, my point of Wilf is that we expect way too much out of him every match. I think he played really well. Again, you have to watch the game again. Watch it again. Wilf was very much involved in that game, played really well. He was involved in that first goal that we scored, driving forward, that led to the the mistake in the back by Gray. I thought he's just not scoring goals, but we don't need him right now. I mean, we did obviously when we lost to United in Leeds games, but we didn't need him on Sunday to score a goal. So he played well enough, and he wants to get a rest. I got no problem resting him, but as far as needing to rest, I don't think he needs to rest at all.
Okay, thanks, gents. Richard Evans has asked whether, talk about the fact we're still worried we could concede a late goal, and ends his question asking, do we still have defensive issues that need to be sorted out? Yes, we do. I still think there's a lot to be done in terms of our defensive play and set pieces, and just most of what we need to do though is just keep letting these players play together and develop experience with each other, because that's the way that we'll iron out most of the issues. But there's still a lot of work to be done. But I don't think it's on personnel. I think it's just on, just that regular time with the coaching staff, little tweaks here and there just to shore things up a little bit. Because again, we conceded against Everton when we really probably shouldn't have done when you look at the balance of the game, and at times we are a little bit too easy to kind of play through. And we've just got to watch the counter as well, because we're a possession-based side now, and as we move up the pitch, we can be caught on the counter. Something else to watch, but we've got a really good balance right now, and that's what it's all about. Sean asked a really good question, a really long question about Wilf, and talking about him as a kind of cameo main striker, and that he's not as good on the wings anymore. I think that we've kind of addressed that. We've addressed your part of your question about Will Hughes. So. I think we're out of time, really. Some great comments in there, Sean, though. A really good kind of overall view of what the talking points were from the match, and hopefully we've covered all of those for you. So thanks for your message. I think we'll have to stop there, gentlemen. So obviously, thank you very much to Nick and Patrick for joining me today. Been a real pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show, and in particular those of you who got in touch with the show today. We read everything we get. But we can't use it all, and but don't think we don't appreciate it. It really does help us put the show together every single week. So the wonderful preview team will be back with you in the course of this week to look back at Wednesday's game against Southampton, and also look ahead to the trip to Watford at the weekend. And as ever, there is plenty more content for all of you across all of our social media accounts, with a wealth of live and recorded shows over on YouTube, including instant match reaction and chances to get involved yourself. So find us on everything by searching Back of the Nest. Like, subscribe, and be merry. Until next time, come on you Palace.